Welcome everybody to the final content unit for your online orientation. This is Brian Smith, and we're going to quickly introduce you or review some of the services that you have available to you here at GCC. Notably, we're going to obviously discuss Moodle, which you've all successfully logged into, but some of you have spent additional time in Moodle for your coursework, and others, this may be your very first time logging into Moodle. So we want to make sure that we at least discuss what is a Moodle, how do you use it, and some commonly asked questions about this service. We also want to address your student email account, your My GCC account, and some other services that you may or may not be aware that you have access to. So here we go. So here at GCC, we use a single username and password system. What that means is that when you update your credentials and create your credentials, you have a username and a password that will let you into all of our services. This will be true for logging into the networks here on campus, using our Moodle system, your student email system. When you make one change, so say you change your password in one of the systems, that change is going to take hold and it's going to push itself throughout our entire network. And so you make that change, say, on your network login, it's going to now be the change for your email account and everything else once everything refreshes. So we want to discuss what that system is. So in terms of our username scheme, hopefully all of you are now familiar with the idea that our usernames typically are a combination of your last name, usually in its entirety, sometimes with hyphenated names. That's a little challenging, but usually it's your entire first name, or last name, excuse me, the first initial of your first name, and then the last 4 digits of your student ID. So that's the username that should work for all of your services. In terms of your password, now this was something that changed for many folks this year. We are transitioning, so some students have an old password scheme, some students have a brand new automatically generated password scheme that then allowed them to set up security questions and then change it to a password that they're more familiar with. We are in the midst of that project right now, and so students going forward will have much more security on their accounts and a little more flexibility about retrieving their passwords when something goes wrong. But with that transition, there's a few growing pains, and so we're experiencing that right now. So hopefully for many of you, you experienced an automated generated email that came out and gave you login credentials. When you logged in for the first time, you were prompted to change your password. If not, as we go through the process right now, you may actually start to log into services and be prompted to set up security questions or to change your password. Take a moment to do that, please. It allows for everything to go smoothly from this point out. In terms of accessing your services, everything is available at the GCC website. The domain is www.gcc.mass.edu. When you go to that website, we have a login portal right here. When you put your cursor over that blue login button in the top right-hand corner, all of your student services will be shown to you. My GCC, Moodle, and student email are the most common, and we're going to start with a quick conversation about your student email. Oh, one more thing I just want to quickly point out. We have a lot of great content here on the GCC website. What has changed is part of a relaunch of the website. We have this really nice photo here of a student-faculty interaction. But when you scroll down, there's a lot more information about upcoming events, upcoming programs, important things that you may want to be notified about. They exist just below that photo. So if you scroll down, you'll see here to the right, there's a list of events and news. All the information is on the main page of the website. It's just it's like a newspaper. It's below the fold. You just want to scroll down just a little bit and you'll see all of that really important content. Okay, so let's move along to your student email. Your student email account is provided by Gmail. This is a change that we made just over about 2 years ago. It was a decision by our IT department in consultation with the Student Senate. It's a change that many colleges and universities have made. Students typically have some form of personal email account that is web-based. The switch makes that alignment easier for students who are familiar with those web-based emails. And so we've made that switch. And with that, your email account will function very much like a personal email account. It's important to note a few things about this account, though. First, and I believe Sarah has already mentioned this, we just want to put in one last reminder that your Gmail account is the official email account that we will be using here at GCC. That's why we provide it to you. So if one of our offices, say the registrar's office, financial aid, or the bursar's office, if they are trying to reach you via email, maybe your student advisor or your faculty member, if we're trying to reach you, we're likely going here to your Gmail account. So if you're not in the habit of checking this, if you haven't been checking this semester, I would highly encourage you all to start doing that today and going forward. It's a great idea to check at least weekly. It's even a better idea if you can check a few times a week. We'd hate for you to miss really important information. Another important thing we want to mention, I had said earlier that we have a single username and password scheme, and that is true. Gmail, because Gmail owns the rights to their product, they get to dictate a few things for us. One switch was that when the student goes to log in here for a username, they have to put their entire email address in as their username. So before I mentioned your username was your last name with your first initial and the last 4 digits of your student number. That is true. For the purposes of logging into your Gmail account, you would type that username, and then if you look here on the screen to that red arrow, it's pointing to the email extension. So you would include your username, the @ stuemail.gcc.mass.edu. You type all of that in for your username here at Gmail. Your password should be whatever you changed it to, or if you have not logged into the service, it may be your initial generic password that was sent to you in the mail. That should be, or at least what you use to get into Moodle, that should give you access. And like I said, if this is your first time logging in, this is going to give you probably a similar startup acknowledgement screens like you would see for a personal account. So please take a moment to set up those accounts, set up any security questions they may be asking. Take a few moments to check to see if you received any important mail in this account if you have not been checking, and then we shall carry on. In terms of Moodle, so you've all made it into Moodle, we know that. Depending on your level of experience with Moodle, we may have people viewing this presentation who are very familiar, and others, like I said, maybe their very first time entering. So I'm going to speak sort of generally, but I want to point out some important features. So Moodle is our learning management system. We have some courses that are 100% taught online. We have some courses that are taught with a hybrid format where a class may meet once or twice in a common space like a classroom, and then remaining work is going to happen online. And then we have other professors who simply use Moodle as a support course. So their class meets 100% in person, but they post their lecture notes, or they may have students submit their essays online or participate in a chat forum in between classes. So you want to have a conversation with your professor on the very first day of class and have an understanding about what their expectation with your Moodle use is. Some professors, just like anybody, some professors are a little more tech savvy than others, and so you're going to see a variety of expectations when it comes to the use of Moodle. So I think the important takeaway is to know, 1, what is Moodle, 2, to know how to get into Moodle, and then 3, just to be really clear with your instructor. If they expect heavy Moodle use and you are personally not comfortable with it, you may want to decide on switching your course to a different section. If you think you can, with a little support, get up to speed with Moodle, so you may want to use maybe our tech tutors in the library or speak to IT for some additional support, then you may want to take advantage of those things. But you would definitely want to understand what the expectation is before you move too far into the semester. Another important thing to note, and I'm going to show you what the login screen for Moodle looks like in just a moment. There are preferred browsers with this product. This is an open source product that many colleges and universities use. Firefox, which is an open source browser, is typically the browser that works best with this product. There is a list of different browser types listed on the login page, and they are ranked in order of which browsers have the best compatibility with this product. And so it's our recommendation that you work with the browsers that have better compatibility, but simply use the browser that you feel works best for you. Just understand that if you're using a browser that maybe doesn't have the best compatibility, there may be some functionality that's not going to work for you, and you may experience some technical difficulties, and you just need to be comfortable working around those issues. So when you go to your main GCC website again, hover over that login button, you click on that Moodle link, it's going to take you to a login page that looks exactly like this. So here you put your username in. again, your last name, your first initial, and the last 4 digits of your student number. The login password should be whatever password you were either given or what you've changed it to. Clearly, you've all logged in, so you've been able to be successful in that venture. You should be taken into a homepage that looks something like this. All of the courses that you are registered for in a given term that have an activated Moodle course will appear in this center column on your page. And so if you are seeing just the Moodle course for new student orientation, that would suggest to me that you do not have an instructor who's using Moodle this semester. If instead you log in and you're seeing active courses, hopefully you've been in those courses and you've been completing work and assignments. Otherwise, I would highly encourage you to take a few moments to look around those courses and see if you've missed any expectations from your professors. So all those courses appear in the center column. Once again, those blue hyperlinks in bold, those actually are clickable, and when you click on those, it takes you into the course. There's a few other features. There's obviously the left and right column. On the right-hand side there, you'll see upcoming events, so there's some programmable due dates, so when your professors start putting in events like an assignment being due or a test that's upcoming or a discussion forum that has a deadline, those dates should be programmed there. You should see that there's a work coming up that may be due, so take a moment to take a look at those things. When you click on one of those course titles in the center column, it will take you into a page like this. Now, all of our courses have the same shell, the same structure. So even though your professors may use Moodle courses in different ways, and they may set them up in different formats, you'll still have the same structure and look to them. So for instance, in this how-to course, you're going to see this as more of a topic view. So this professor set up a general information top heading, and then there are subsequent sections based on topic. Some professors will do that by topic, others will do it by week to help students sort of stay chronologically in order with their assignments. So you just want to, again, play around with it just a little bit, take a look, see how your professor has set this course up for you. There's some quick links that we want to point out to you. On the right-hand side, you'll see there's a red arrow pointing to the activities module. So when a professor gives you an assignment, maybe you're submitting an essay, or there's a chat forum that they want you to participate in, or there's a quiz that they want you to take, you can scroll through all the content in the center and look for those assignments. If it's easier for you or quicker for you, you can click on one of those subcategories, so either activities or forums or quizzes. You can click on those and it will take you to that entire subcategory of activities. So if there's 3 quizzes for the entire semester, it's going to take you to the category of quizzes, and then you can click on the correct quiz. So maybe today you're supposed to take quiz 2. Those are quick links to get you to those activities. Some students have a hard time focusing if they're scrolling through too much information. These quick activities are listed here to give you quicker access. On the left-hand side, you'll see another red arrow. I was pointing to your grade module. Moodle has a built-in gradebook. Several professors use the gradebook to help students keep up to date with an understanding of their grades. It's important to note that just like the setup for a Moodle course or the choice to use a Moodle course, professors have academic freedom. That includes their grading policy. And so in the beginning of your semester, you reviewed your syllabus. The grading policy was discussed, and if you stayed in the course, you were okay with that grading policy. In terms of the use of Moodle for grading, that's not a requirement. So you very well may be in a Moodle course, and you may have a professor who chooses to use Moodle, or you may have a professor who's decided not to use Moodle. That is their discretion. I just want to point out that the module is there. If you are in a course where the professor has decided to use the Moodle for grading, you want to have a conversation about when they expect to update grades, obviously, but it's a great tool to help students and faculty members have a conversation about what their grade is throughout the semester. So by clicking on that grades link, you can have a look at all your grades for the entire semester's worth of activities and be informed. And if you're working with a professor who has decided to grade in a different method and keep those records elsewhere, you just want to have a good conversation with your professor about where you stand in the class at this point in the semester. A few important things. Every semester, the Moodle courses are not required to be activated often they're being built right up until the beginning of the semester. So they're not required to be activated until the very first day. So as of today, when you're logging in, you are likely seeing your courses if they are indeed using one. In the future, if you sign up for a summer or fall course and they are going to use Moodle, if you do not see it, say you log in a week or two before courses start, and you don't see a Moodle course listed, that does not mean necessarily that you will not have a Moodle course. You always want to log in on the very first day of classes to see if they have been activated. And you, again, want to have a conversation with your professor about what their expectation is for the use of Moodle. Okay? Just a few other resources before we address My GCC, which I think is probably one of the most important services here at GCC, and we want to make sure that students use them. But there's some support resources that I want to point out to you. Now, earlier, Sarah was talking about the importance of peer tutoring in her services section. I just want to point out for some students who may prefer something a little more asynchronous, we have online tutoring. So in Moodle, on the left-hand side, you'll see a student support column. This red arrow is pointing to it. If you look under the tutoring heading, there will be online tutoring with Smart Thinking. This is a product that we have installed for students. It is meant to be used, and so if it's a method and an approach that works best for you, please by all means do so. If you are a student who would learn better from working one-on-one with a tutor in our tutoring center, we highly recommend you come in and do that. But we do have this as an option. So if you click on that online tutoring link, it is a hyperlink. It will take you into Smart Thinking. Here's a screenshot of what a homepage for Smart Thinking looks like. As you can see, it pulled the login credentials. So you being logged into Moodle and clicking on that link allowed Smart Thinking to just pull those login credentials, so you don't have to log into one more service. Here you can either use drop-in tutoring, use the chat forum. You could do things asynchronous, and you can leave assignments submitted for a tutor to review. Again, this is for a student who maybe can work a little bit more with text feedback, that can work ahead of deadlines, who is a little more comfortable waiting on some feedback. It's not going to be as instantaneous as doing it, having a live tutoring session in our tutoring center. But if this is something you think that would work for you, please by all means give this a shot. We also have pretty rapid response from our IT folks in terms of student support. So if you go to the main GCC website, gcc.mass.edu/helpdesk, you will have access to the IT resources. First, I want to point out that our IT office is open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They do their best to get back to you within 24 to 48 hours if it's over the weekend. The student help at stuemail.gcc.mass.edu email address is a great way to reach our staff and ask them a question. I always recommend to students, if you are going to email the IT folks about a question about one of your services, please email them from your student email account. We generate that email account. We have some say and control over the way that those accounts are accessed, so we have pretty good certainty that you are who you are if you're emailing us from there. Sometimes our students, and this happens with some of my advisees, they will email me from a generic Yahoo or a Hotmail address. I don't know who these people are, and by law we can't share confidential information with persons that we don't know for truth, who, if they are who they say they are, or else. So please do your best to use our sort of protected email channels. If you are going to email, so maybe your issue is you can't get into your student email, that's legitimate. If you're going to email from one of those personal email accounts, please be very clear about who you are with some identification as to who you are, so that we can give you very specific information. If you don't do that, please don't be surprised that you're going to get a very vague response back, and it's probably because we're suspect of whether or not you truly are a student. Some other important features just to point out off this page: we have a knowledge base, so it's very likely that the issue that you're experiencing has been experienced once before. Our knowledge base is designed for students who are happy to try to troubleshoot on their own. You can click that knowledge base, look up those frequently asked questions, look at some answers on how to complete those. Similarly, we have tools and tutorials, so some students enjoy video clips and some other how-to guides. If that's your style of learning and you want to take an attempt at making those adjustments yourself, please click on that link, view our YouTube channel, take a look at some of those short videos, see if that helps you troubleshoot what's going on. And ultimately, another method other than that email is you can submit a help ticket. So choose any of these methods, but we truly want you to work with IT to get your issue resolved. We've heard of some students who are frustrated when they can't get into one of their services, so they just don't use it. That's not the right response. So please let us know how we can help you, okay? Moving on to MyGCC. MyGCC is your student records management system. When I said earlier that the registrar's office takes over your student file after admission, has completed their work, this is where all of your records are housed. This is the web portal in. So when you sit down for your advising session and you work with an advisor, they're using your MyGCC information. My goal is to show you that you have the same access that I have as an advisor, and that's empowering. So you should have access, you should know how to use it and be familiar with those services. So hopefully you've already done that. If not, I'm going to quickly introduce you to MyGCC. So like I said, this is your student information management system. You can manage your financial aid awards through the system. You can pay your bill online with QuickPay. You can use this to print your schedule, to look up schedules, to register for classes, etc. So again, when you go to the main GCC website, hover over that blue login button, you will see the first choice is MyGCC. When you click that link, you're going to see a very similar login screen as you did to the Moodle site. Same username and password scheme that allows you into Moodle is going to allow you into this site here. Once you get inside, you're going to see a homepage that looks something like this. You're going to see some quick links off to your left-hand side. You'll see the academic calendar and some other links on the right-hand side. And then there'll be news and announcements about upcoming events, important deadlines, things that you need to be aware of showing in the middle. Okay? There's also some additional functionality. This was a little more cluttered before, and so they took a lot of the functionality of this and they sort of put them up into those top headings. So you'll see my account, my financial aid, my classes, and schedule. They use those headings to sort of group all of those similar functions, and I just want you to take a look at some of those functions. So when you hover over, say, my account, like I did in this screenshot, you'll see all of this information that pops up. So here's all of that personal information. I believe Sarah talked to all of you about opting in possibly to our Rave Alert system. So under the personal information category, there's an opportunity for you to submit your cell phone number or your mobile device so that you can receive those alerts. So information from your personal contact is here. Any options for billing. So if you want to pay your bill or do other things that have to do with your student account, they're also showing here, okay? Similar under My Financial Aid, you can manage your financial aid awards, decline, partially accept, or fully accept. All of that happens there, okay? There's also a really important feature that some students are not aware exists. If you have already been to your student activities office to receive your student ID, you hopefully down in the right-hand corner will see your picture smiling back at you. If you do, if you click on that, it should open up this dashboard. The dashboard is almost like a one-stop shopping for all of your student record information. This is what I use in every one of my advising sessions with a student. It's very easy to use, so I just want to help you sort of look around here. As you can see, it quickly pulls up the student's information, their major, their academic standing, where that advisor notation is. That's a blue hyperlink. So if your advisor has already been assigned to you, when you click that link, it's going to open up an email to your advisor, so you can just notify them about whatever it is you need to talk to them about. In that center column, you can again see your schedule and reprint that if you need that. Every semester, when you finalize grades, they get stored in your transcript. So you would continue to have to go to the registrar for an official transcript. But if you just need to print off what your current transcript looks like, for any purpose, you can do that yourself. So if you're maybe working on a degree audit, or maybe you need to prove something to your employer if they don't need it to be official, you can come in here, click on your transcript, and you can take a look at that and print off what you need to. Again, if you do need it official, you want to go back to the registrar's office. Any of your goals and other things that you submitted during your admissions process will all appear here. At the very top, you'll see register at drop. That's where you could add a register at drop. So as you develop that relationship with your advisor that we talked about, they may release your registration pin, and you can always go up here and register yourself. Okay. Also, your schedule shows here, and as you're here for multiple semesters, you'll see the next and previous terms. You can sort of go back and forth through the different semesters and see that history under the instructor status, date, grade. These columns fill in as the semester completes itself. And so early progress reports right now are starting to show for some students here. Those are all clickable forms that you can click on and see the feedback professors were giving you. And if you're not seeing anything, that typically suggests that things are going okay in your classes. And at the end of the semester, your grades will also show here. So there's many different ways for you to take a look at this information. There's also a few additional tabs that I want to point out. The testing tab. So if you took your AccuPlacer in the testing center in the beginning of your application process, those scores are going to show here. Your financial aid tab, that GAS gauge that we talked about, how much time you're spending here at GCC versus moving on to another institution, that's going to show here. And any holds that may be on your account will be listed here under this tab. Okay. So that's it. I've shown you my GCC. I've introduced you to Moodle. We've talked about your Gmail systems. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you for being with us. Please complete the quiz module at the end of this presentation. Remember to save your answer. So once you answer that one question, you want to save your response. That will allow me to see in our gradebook that you have completed all of the Moodle course, and I will be glad to remove your orientation hold. Take care. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.